You're listening to
the Beer O'Clock, the Beer O'Clock Show.
You're listening to the Beer O'Clock Show.
It's Beer O'Clock and there's the Beer O'Clock Show, back with you for another dive into the great Belgian beery offerings. My name is Mark, and joining me is mon petit pomme de terre, Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, and I'd love to know what you've just called me.
My little potato.
Oh, lovely. Okay. You say my head looks like a spud.
No. This week we're drinking another bottle from this season's Belgian selection from Brasserie de Bocq. It's a Gauloise Ambree, a 5.5% amber ale. And yes, you do get to listen to my shit accent from another country this time.
Woo!
It's been a while for shit accents.
It has, yeah. Roll them out again. let's offend more nations of Europe.
But before we get to that beer, Stevie, what you been drinking, mate?
You know what? I don't know.
Fuck all.
No, I actually, I'd love to be able to say that one week, but it's not the case. What have I drunk? What have I drunk that was a bit of a standout in the last week?
He says browsing his Untapped.
Yes, it's been useful for one reason. I drank. Oh, looks like I had a bit of a session on Cannonball, unsurprisingly. Things of note. So I did the Moore beer TFA, or also known as Star Wars: The Force Awakens, also known as something else as well, which I can't remember the abbreviation for. I think this is fucking awesome or something like that. I also had the Cloudwater Seville Orange Sour as well, which wasn't as soury as I would have liked it, and it was very, very orangey.
Like a Fanta.
Yes, like flat Fanta.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but other than that, nothing really of note. There's a lot of Cannonball in my timeline this week. I can only imagine I've been working my way through some of the cans that I've had, because I don't remember having it in a bar at all. What about yourself, mate?
I went outside with. I socialised.
Calm down.
I know.
You've actually been out.
I have been socialising. Went out for a work do on Friday night. Had a couple of Delirium Tremens, you know, the Pink Elephant beers.
Oh, yeah, I've never had that.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Is it Belgian-y?
It's a little bit Belgian-y. Not that Belgian-y. I think you'd quite like it.
Okay.
What was funny is
give that a go.
It's an 8.5% beer, right? None of my workmates knew it was 8.5%. They just saw that I was drinking this beer with a Pink Elephant, and they thought, oh, that looks like a pretty cool beer. I'll get one of those. And I'm swinging them, but by this point, this is like, you know, we've been drinking for like 4 or 5 hours. So I was swinging them, and they went through a couple, and on their asses they be.
Mate, I'm so proud. Look how far you've come.
Well, you know, I will hold my hand up and say I'm not a big drinker. You know how easy I am to get pissed.
Yeah,
but drinking a beer, 8.5% is not that big a deal now, because we are seasoned higher ABV connoisseurs. I had another great beer from Bocq Brewery. It's an insulated lager, which is like a dark lager, which is kind of like actually tasted like a light stout. It was really nice, really drinkable. What's the ABV on that? Pretty easy, really. 5.6%. It's on keg. Really, really nice. So if you ever see that anyway, I had that at the Angel, which is just off Old Street Roundabout. Yeah, lovely. And I had a Caesar Augustus as well, because you can't really go wrong with Caesar Augustus.
I love that beer. That was one of my early introductions to what beer could actually taste like.
Yeah, lovely beer. Again, that was on tap at the Angel. So I had a pretty good Friday night.
Sounds like you had a great Friday night, mate.
Yeah, it was good fun. And I actually had beers for once. Look at me, I got some show and tell to do.
I know, more than me.
Right, so have you got any news for us, mate?
Oh, mate, there's loads of news this week. You better buckle yourself in for this lot.
Right, here's your pips. Beep, 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 beep.
Okay, so we're going to start off with some new beer news. So coming from Thornbridge, Eldon, 8% Bourbon Oak Imperial Stout. So new beer that gets its name from one of the 7 wonders of the Peak District, the E. Eldon Hull. It's a smooth roasty stout brewed with Demerara sugar and added complexity from the addition of bourbon soaked oak. Now available online and in Thornbridge's new 330ml bottles. So that might be a hot topic for the future. Do we like the fact that Thornbridge have dropped down to 330ml bottles? We'll see. More new beer news. So Purity Brewing Co. have launched Saddle Black, which is a hoppy black beer in cans. So they are being launched at Craft Beer Rising, which I think is actually this week. And they'll be widely available. It's brewed in Marisotto rye, crystal rye, black and smoked malts to give it a gnarly and smoky backbone with excellent body and mouthfeel, while the use of Chinook and Cascade hops offer citrus notes in there. So that sounds like quite an interesting beer to try. We'll keep our eye out for that one and we'll let you know what we think of it. You couldn't have missed this one on Friday. It was all over your Twitter feed. I think Brewdog may have launched a new beer, and I think they might have been really proud about it, because my timeline for about 2 hours on Friday evening was nothing but all of their bars tweeting about the new beer. So Jet Blackheart was the surprise prototype challenge winner of last year. This was the dark stout that's being served in nitro in all of their bars. And we say it was a surprise winner because all of the bars were installing nitro lines before Christmas while the competition was still on. So it wasn't really a surprise that this one was going to win. Anyway, Jet Blackheart is now available in all Brewdog bars and Brewdog online. Give it a try if you like your nitro stouts. Some news about British beer exports in America. United Kingdom beer exports grew by 49% in December 2015 compared to the previous year. The growth in the American craft beer market is sucking in the great beers from the UK and specifically from Scotland. So it's good to see the British beers are reaching out into the States finally. Interesting one, this next one. Green King. 2 words I never thought I'd hear myself say on this show again. Delisting other beers to make people drink their own shit.
Oh, surprise.
Yeah, so they've delisted Sharp's Doom Bar and Fuller's London Pride from a lot of their bars to try and get people drinking their own stuff. Not saying any more on that. You can make your own opinions on that one. New event night. So we're big fans of Craft Beer Hour on the Beer O'Clock Show. This is Tuesday between 9 and 10. We've now got another one, if you missed that. You've got Hop God Fridays between 8 and 10 p.m. Where there are different beers lined up for each week, different styles of beers. You can get involved in another Twitter conversation. So coming up over the next couple of weeks, you've got things like double IPAs, black IPAs, barrel-aged beers. If you want to get involved in that, you can follow at HopGodBeer or use the hashtag HopGodFriday or check them out on hopgod.beer. And finally, in this week's news, just to mention that our good friends Wayne and Janice from the Irish Beer Snob have released a new podcast this week featuring yours truly. So if you want to listen to me talking on somebody else's podcast, check out their latest episode. And actually check out their podcast anyway, because it's a different slant on things and it gives you a great view of the Irish beer market. And so ends the news.
Wow, that was a big old chunk of news.
It's a lot going on this week, mate.
Big
news week.
I've got a bit of news. Brewdog have classified 23 of their beers as vegan now for all of you vegans out there. So there you go. Bit of news for you.
Oh. Mate, I do the news.
Well, there you go. Let's get into this week's beer, buddy. This is from the Brasserie de Bocq, the Gauloise Ambree, 5.5% amber.
Whoa, I've got a lively one. There we go. It's caught that. That came rushing up out of the bottle like it was desperate to be put into my glass.
Mine didn't, but the head on it is massive.
It might be because mine's been out in the garden. It's been kept quite cold. So possibly.
Mine's been in the fridge since yesterday, so it's quite cold as well.
Got it going. Ooh, that's dark. Nice head, like you say. Bubbly white head, nice and thick. About a finger's worth of head on that.
I've got a good few fingers on mine. Yeah. But yeah, lovely copper colour.
I'd say copper, yeah. Maybe a dark amber. Kind of a clue in the name, though, there. Yeah. With that one. So not having to stretch too hard for that description, am I?
So I'm gonna let mine settle for a little bit. I'm getting very malt forward aromas on that with a very slight orangey note.
Yeah, there's almost a little bit of copper on the aroma.
Yeah.
maybe slightly floral as well.
Shall we get into it, pal?
I am looking forward to this. Yes.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm not quite sure what I'm getting from this. It is.
I think maybe it's a bit cold.
It might be a little bit. I'm going to hold mine in my hands for a little while and see if I can warm it up. But it's
Because
it's reminding me of an English ale.
Yes, yeah.
It's kind of very malt forward. Any hops in it are only at the very edge of the palate as it's drying off. Still quite bitter though. I mean, it's not not an earthy bitterness kind of way. It is just kind of like a malt bitterness.
I think you nailed it in your opening gambit there. It's very, very reminiscent of an English beer. In the aroma and the mouthfeel and the finish. Some of the flavours that are coming through is a little bit of earthiness in there, a little bit of spiciness in there. The hops are kind of very much in the background, and the malts are what are playing to the strengths of this beer.
At 5.5%, I could pick this as being quite a filling beer, if you get what I mean.
I don't think you'd want to drink more than a pint of it.
No, it's kind of. I can really feel it kind of sitting in me. I mean, my immediate reaction to it is this wouldn't be out of place if we walked into any London pub and asked for a pint of bitter.
Mm.
It's not really that interesting, is it? I was hoping for a little bit more citrus coming in. I was hoping for, even though it's a Belgian beer, it is just an amber. You know,
yeah.
We weren't expecting everything to be Belgian-y, but I was hoping for something a little more exotic.
Again, mate, I think you've summed it up perfectly there. It's not very exciting. There's not a lot going on with it. Again, I think we're 2 for 2 here with the Belgian-y beers in terms of it. It doesn't taste Belgian-y at all.
No.
There's none of that Belgian yeast flavour coming through, none of the banana, the clove, that sort of thing that you'd associate with Belgian beers. It is very traditionally English, which is quite surprising, really, considering the background of the brewery. I mean, they've been around since the 1800s, so they're quite a traditional Belgian brewery. And yeah, it's just not very exciting.
No, I just right then I got a little sniff of a cloud of like a sour orange, very faint on it, which is quite interesting. But that's about the most interesting thing from this so far. I mean, I'm getting through my glass. It is definitely drinkable, but it's also quite filling. So
yeah, the description on the website. So this is, I pulled this straight off the website. So it's characterised by its fragrance. You'll find a varied palette of flavours. It's very easily digestible and refreshing. A pleasant blend of the aroma of hops and a slight hint of licorice on the aroma. Appearance-wise, ambered, bright, fine sparkle, delicate and thick head. Taste, a pronounced bitterness, mellow and thirst-quenching. There's nothing in there I would disagree with, other than maybe the presence of hops. Obviously they're in there, but they're not jumping out and smacking you in the face. They're balanced with the malts to give a very well-rounded beer. There's just not a lot else to it.
I mean, if you like ambers, if you like English ales, it's a fair beer to try. I mean, you're all going off to buy the beer box from Beautiful Beers anyway. And a thank you to Rene again for supplying this beer amongst others. You can buy the Beer Clock Show Season 9 beer box from beautifulbeers.co.uk with this beer and all the other Belgian beers we're doing this season, as well as a little surprise beer. Interesting one. It's not the typical style we would choose to review.
No, absolutely not.
But
maybe we would have done this in season 1.
Yeah, but it is interesting to see this amongst the Belgian selection. You know, there's a potential that the rest of the season is going to be Belgian-y out your ass. So it's nice to have something.
You know what? I hope so, because at this stage, I'm almost actually craving something that tastes a bit Belgian-y.
Mate, I'm pretty sure we're going to get something Belgian-y.
Talking of it, I've just got to throw this in because I'm gonna plug the hell out of this as well. Buxton this week released a series of new beers that have been brewed with Belgian yeast. So Buxton have released essentially a Belgian series of beers. I think there are 5 in the series, and you can get a pretty decent mixed case off of Ambree if you want to give those a try. I think there's definitely there's a double, there's a triple, there's a quad, there's a Anglo-Belgian IPA, and then there's another light one as well in there. So I'm looking forward to giving those a go when they come through. But I mean, yeah, back to this one. I just don't really have much else to say about it.
No.
I do wonder whether it's too cold. That's my only thing. Is that maybe it's a bit cold in my glass because, as I say, I've had it in the garden, brought it straight in, put it into a glass. It's quite cold outside this week, so it's possible that it's just taken any of the flavour out of it.
Well, I've been warming wine on my hands, and I am getting quite a bit more flavour from it, but it's more getting some different characteristics from the malt rather than bringing out any of the hoppy flavours or hoppy aromas. So anyway, while I've got like a finger's worth left, because it is still very drinkable.
Thirsty tonight then, mate?
Well, I do like my Ambers, what can I say?
Well, that's true. That is true.
Have we got an Instagram of the week, mate?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, this week, you know what? I think people rose to the challenge that my ungrateful self presented last week. There were some stunning pictures put up on Instagram this week, and it's been really hard to choose a winner. Even to the point where I put sort of like 4 out on Twitter over the weekend and said, look, I'm struggling to choose between these. But eventually one came out on top. So receiving his first great big new and improved big box of nothing of 2016. This week's prize is going to our old friend, Son of a Gun, for this image of a glass balancing on top of a bottle, and it was the Clockwork Orange beer from Clockwork Orange from Brentwood Brew Co, which I believe that other cheeky fellow who supports the show, Justin Mason, sent over to Pierce, who is also known as Son of a Gun. So
Son of a Gun.
Congratulations, Son of a Gun, for winning your first prize of 2016. If you want to have a go at winning next week's Great Big Box of Nothing, put your picture up on Instagram, use the hashtag Cheers Guys, and if it's the one that catches my attention, you'll be getting your own massive box of nothing in the post to you.
Very good. Right. Let's have a little bit of a discussion around something which apparently broke Twitter.
Well, it didn't break Twitter, but it was more of a hot topic than last week, mate. This past weekend, let me give the context to the question first of all. This past weekend, Beavertown had their 4th birthday bash at the brewery. It was a free event. They advertised loads of breweries and a tap list of about 70 beers. And unsurprisingly, they were descended upon by thousands of people. There were some issues in terms of people getting into the event. At one stage, they had to actually close the doors and not let anybody else in. There were some quite heated debates about it on Twitter, people supporting their stance, people criticising them. So it kind of prompted me to jump on the bandwagon a little bit, but rather than pointing any fingers at anybody in particular, the question that I simply asked this week was, should free events, which this was a free event, so should free events be ticketed for fairness and or people's safety? To which we had the most overwhelming response to our poll that we've ever had. We had nearly just under 200 people voted this week.
Wow.
54% of people said yes, free events should be ticketed. 42% said it's actually the organiser's choice, and it's got nothing to do because they're best placed to know their venue or that sort of thing. Only 4% of people said no. So just picking up on a few individual comments that people fed back before we have a bit of a discussion about it. So Connor Murphy, at Like the Murphys, said, suppose it comes down to a judgment call based on expected attendance and facilities. The organiser is best placed to make that call. Janice Dunn at Mrs. Beer Snob. If the venue is small, then yes, it should be ticketed for safety. I'd hate to be at an overcrowded event. Justin Mason, 1970s boy. Organiser's choice. If it's going to be busy, get there early and prepare to queue, or don't go at all. Lessons will be learned. Mike Warwick at Welsh Mike. The problem with ticketing free events is the amount who get a ticket but don't turn up. Makes it difficult to judge how much to oversell. And then finally this week, Melissa Cole got involved in our discussion as well, and she said that her problem was that people don't value free events. Can't tell how many I've been to where 30 to 40% register but don't turn up. So quite a varied response. We had loads of responses. I simply could not include all of the responses in the discussion this week. But mate, I'm keen to get your views on this one. Not just in particular to what happened at the weekend, but just in events overall. What do you think is the best way to manage a free event?
Well, it's kind of a mix. I definitely think at the level of the Beavertown event, and we spoke about this last week with Pete, we knew it was going to be Ramo.
Oh, absolutely. I purposely didn't go because I knew it would be packed.
Yeah. At that size of event, I think having something ticketed would make sense. Purely so people at least knew that they would be able to get in. Make it ticketed, but you could turn up without a ticket, but you wouldn't be given priority. So if the place is full, you have to wait. And if someone turns up with a ticket, they get priority in the line. If it's smaller, I don't know. You could say there's a chance that people won't turn up to a ticketed event, even if it's free. But who's to say they wouldn't turn up anyway? At least ticketing it gives you a gauge of some, if 100 people say they're going to turn up, you can probably guess that maybe 60 would come along. So at least gives you an idea.
Yeah.
For a free event. Or charge them a nominal fee, $5, and they get £10 worth of beer or something.
Well, that's something that a lot of people were saying, that they would have been quite happy to have paid a tenner for the ticket and then been given 10 quid's worth of beer tokens when they turned up. I think the problem with free events is that people don't place any value on
exactly
it, and
what
it's
Melissa
very
said,
easy to drop out. Mm-hmm. If you've paid a fee for something, you're more likely to turn up.
Indeed.
And interestingly, some other comments were being made that following this weekend, a lot of people are speculating that actually in the future it's quite possible that these decisions will be taken out of Beavertown's hands, because the local authority, having seen what happened, will now actually say, you know what, you guys have got to sort this out. You can't have 4,000 people or whatever it was descend on your brewery at the weekend and
not to mention transport links, the train station. It's not a football match.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I mean, yeah. Any other views that you've got on this one?
Not really. Congratulations to Beavertown for having such a huge turnout.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm not. I don't want to. I'm not sticking the boot in. I observed what was happening. I wasn't surprised that it happened. Like you say, we speculated about it. A lot of people saying that lessons will be learned. And I'm going to put this out there. I contacted Beavertown this morning and said, look, guys, do you want to come on the show tonight and talk about the weekend and the lessons that have been learned? No response. So, they were given. I would have liked to have had them on. I didn't want to stick the boot in. I wanted to talk to them about the lessons that were learned. But they, for whatever reason, declined to respond to the invitation to come on to talk about it tonight.
Oh well. Never mind.
But anyway, I mean, like I say, it's been an overwhelming hot topic this week. I'm really pleased everybody, and thank everybody for taking the time to make a comment. We can't read out all the comments every week on Hot Topic, especially when there's one as emotive as this week's one. But if you do feel as though you still want to have your say, just use the hashtag Hot Topic and get in touch with us, and there'll be another one that you can get involved in next week.
Indeedy. So this week we've been reviewing Gauloise Ambree from Brasserie de Bocq with Mon Petit Pomme de Terre, Steve.
That's some incredible pronunciation there, mate.
I have no idea if I'm getting it right whatsoever.
I'll tell you what, it sounded good. It would have been better than I could have done it.
It's a 5.5% amber ale. Steve, any final comments on it, mate?
I've been warming it while we've been chatting. I'm not getting a lot more out of it than we've already said.
No, I will say it's a pretty nice semi-light amber. It is a little bit filling because it is quite malt forward. Not a huge hop profile on it at all. Slightly sweet, nice bitterness running through on the back of the palate, and for me that's about it.
I'm actually not going to add anything else to that this week.
Very good. And don't forget, you can get this beer and all the other Belgian beers from Beautiful Beers. Rene has put together a Season 9 box for us. Use the discount code that's also on our website, which Ales by Mail, beer merchants and Ambree also offer a 10% discount, and you can go to the Beer O'Clock Show website, click on our Season 9 beer list, and all the details are there. Our website is beeroclockshow.co.uk. We're on Twitter at Beer O'Clock Show. We're on Instagram at Beer O'Clock Show. Steve is on Untapped at Beer Show Steve. I'm on Untapped at Beer Show Mark. And I'm on Twitter at Beer Show Mark. What's coming up next week, buddy?
Next week, we are heading back up north, where we will be drinking Northern Monk's Northern Star, which is a mocha porter. And we will be welcoming the mighty Rob Derbyshire from Hopzine back to the Beer O'Clock Show to review that beer with us.
Very good, and Rob and Northern Monk are both from Leeds, and we have an interview with Bryony from Little Leeds Beer House, the guys who are kindly sponsoring our monthly Flavour of the Month. Is that what it's called?
It is Flavour of the Month, yes. Yes. And as you listen to this, there's probably a new one out as
should
well,
be.
which you should check out, yes. If not, it'll be out soon.
So wait for the interview with Bryony from Little Leeds Beer House after the tinkly music. But until next week, when we're digging into the Northern Monk, Northern Star with our old mate Rob, Steve.
Been the highlight of my week.
And mine. Bye-bye.
It's Beer O'Clock, and I'm talking Flavour of the Month with Bryony from the Little Leeds Beer House. Bryony, welcome to the show.
Hello.
You're now one of the co-owners of
Indeed.
the Little Leeds Beer House. Exciting times for you guys here. Tell us a little bit, before we start asking some questions about the bottle shop, tell us a little bit about your history with beer. How did you first get excited about beer?
Well, I've always had part-time jobs in bars and clubs. But it wasn't until I moved to Sheffield that I got a part-time job at the Sheffield Tap on the train station there. And I suppose it wasn't till a couple of weeks in where I'd been trying a few things. Every time something new went on, I'd try it, and I started to get a taste for it. But I suppose the beer that got me into tasty beer was Bernard Lager, the black version, which was very rich, but also quite refreshing. And that just kind of opened my eyes to just the variety of flavours and beer styles that were actually out there. And it wasn't just very simple cask beers that were available to me. There were so many different beer styles, and that was what was really exciting, and just being in this environment where you were encouraged to taste and try and get excited about.
So from Sheffield to Leeds,
Yes.
to co-owning a bottle shop.
Yeah.
Where did the idea come from to set up a bottle shop and start selling beer to people?
Yeah. I suppose I've always wanted to be my own boss. I never really thought how that would come about. I just kind of felt that it would be how I'd be most happy. I met Richard at the Sheffield Tap, who's now my husband, and he's always worked in hospitality, in restaurants. He started off doing cocktails in Sheffield, so he's got a huge breadth of skills. And I suppose it was we felt like it was time to do something for ourselves, having worked for other people very hard and for quite a number of years. And we started looking, and the opportunity kind of became feasible. So we thought, why not? Let's just go for it.
So a partnership in every way.
Yes.
You could say between you and Richard.
Yeah.
It's easy to run a bottle shop, yeah.
It's relatively straightforward. You don't have the kind of huge pressure of a busy bar service, so there isn't that kind of hordes and hordes of people queuing and becoming irritated by waiting times, that kind of thing. So that does relieve a lot of stress for the working environment. But yeah, once you've got all your kind of systems in place, logging data, it's relatively straightforward. And then the fun bit is updating your social media and making sure you've got lots of tasty, interesting beers for people to try.
Okay. So to tell us a little bit about beer range, because you've got beers from all over the UK, you've got beers from all over the world here. How do you go about selecting the beers that appear on your shelves? We come at it from a few different angles. Obviously, being both British and interested in the British beer scene at the moment, we really wanted to encourage and have a large selection of UK beers. And in that way, we can also go direct to brewers as much as possible and have a personal relationship with them, and in a way encourage them and help them to develop their business and connect with people. That was always something that was really important to us. We do have a relatively small but I think well-formed European selection. I think it's kind of some of our real favourites, a few gems that you might not get everywhere. So like De Dol is particularly one of Richard's favourites. And the Cascade we got in from the US is a really good example of something really special that Richard, I don't know how he works his magic, but he's got friends with everyone, and that enables us to get some really interesting stuff into the shop. In terms of the range, I suppose we want the kind of far out there, exploratory, kind of boundary pushing beers, and the breweries that are doing that, as well as the more kind of traditional, local stuff that people want to drink time and time again. So we wanted to have that broad range. We didn't want to be niche. We wanted to appeal to a lot of people. Yeah. So talk to me about the shop itself, the location. You're in the Corn Exchange in Leeds, which is a beautiful building.
Yeah.
Makes the shop really stand out. Looks really nice in here. It's a nice feel you've got to it. How important was selecting the right location for what you wanted to do?
I think we were focused on being city centre, and we came inside the Corn Exchange just off spec one day. I just told Richard, I think we should stop talking about doing a bottle shop and actually start looking. Let's start planning, because then you can really make the decisions and know what's out there. So he dragged me inside the Corn Exchange. I'd never been inside. It's a huge domed roof, and it's like being inside a Zeppelin, I imagine. It's really wonderful. I had no idea there were so many shops inside. And I feel like with all the independents in here, that what we wanted to do would fit, and we were able to offer something that wasn't already in the Corn Exchange, and add a new kind of dimension. And they were really keen for that as well. And not being too far from the station, lots of people often kind of take a trip up here before running off to their train, so that's always good. And being in the city centre, we get to have some really good connections with some of the local bars, and Northern Monk, which is just behind the train station, the brewery there. So that's really nice for us. I mean, it's half of what we're interested in is being part of the community here in Leeds. It's a fantastic time for beer, and the community is pretty all-encompassing, and that's a really nice feeling.
And you do quite a few events here as well, so give us a feel for the sort of events that you put on at the shop.
Yeah, so the events The Meet the Brewer type scenarios we do, we like to keep it quite informal. There's not kind of we don't get the brewer to stand up and introduce themselves and that kind of thing. It's more, because we're quite a small shop space, it's much nicer and much more intimate for people to be able to come and chat one-on-one with brewers and with representatives. So that's quite a nice intimate affair. We've done one sit-down event where we did a beer and cheese pairing in conjunction with Friends of Ham. So we had a 12 cover table squeezed inside the shop, but it went really well. I think people really enjoyed the pairings. We worked quite hard to make sure that those were right, and pairing them with, so it was British cheeses with British beer, and that was something that went down very well. I would love to do it again sometime.
So what do you think the future holds for you guys? Where are you looking at being in 12, 18 months' time?
I think due to demand, I think we'll probably stay in the Corn Exchange. People deplore the idea of us moving out.
It's kind of part of what makes you, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're really blessed with such beautiful wooden floors and lovely high windows. I mean, if it was feasible, we'd maybe have a second venue, but it's not something that we're really pressing for at the moment. We like where we are. I think there's still a lot of work we can do from this space here. But yeah, onwards and upwards.
And you guys have recently supported our new spin-off show, the Flavour of the Month, which we're really grateful about. We're really pleased to have partnered up with you. Can you tell us, from your point of view, what do you think that's going to bring to our listeners?
I think from meeting with you last night and having a beer together, I think what we can bring to the relationship is just having the finger on the pulse with what's new, what's coming out, things that people probably haven't heard of, that we might get to hear about just that fraction sooner. And that's really what the podcast is about. It's what's going to be hot in the next couple of weeks. And I think we'll be able to help keep the podcast at the forefront of that.
It's almost like I paid you to say that. That was almost the perfect advert. That's exactly what we're hoping it will be as well, and that's why we wanted to partner up with you guys to be able to get those newest releases to our listeners. Where can people find out more? Where can people check out what shop looks like, follow you on Twitter, that sort of thing?
Yeah. We have the Facebook page, which is /Little Leeds Beer House. We're quite prolific on Twitter and Instagram, which are both at Little Leeds Beer House. Rich is very good on the older pictures. That's one of his specialities. And then our website is www.littleleedsbeerhouse.com.
Okay, nice and simple. Well, look, I'm going to let you get back to the people in the shop to serve them. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Cheers.